social media is a massive tool for your business. But if you don't know how to pull leads off of the system, head over to nhbusinessshow.com/funnels and we'll get you started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the New Hampshire Business Show. My name is Chris Pastrana, and today we are here with Chris Wellington from the Capital Regional Development Council. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Thanks for having me.
Definitely. So let's learn a little bit about you and the CRDC.
Sure. So my name is Chris Wellington. I joined the Capital Regional Development Council last year. So I spent a lot of my career in economic development, working for the state. I worked for the city of Manchester prior to that. I grew up in Bedford, New Hampshire, went to UNH for my undergrad and my master's degree. So I'm a New Hampshire boy and enjoy working here and working with our small businesses, which is primarily what CRDC does. We're a nonprofit economic development organization that provides small business lending and financial solutions for small businesses, as well as economic development advising to the 51 municipalities that we serve in New Hampshire.
Okay. So what is business development, or economic development, I should say?
So, everyone you talk to will give a different response to it. So I think it's really dependent on the town and the community that you're in, what assets they have. But I think we all know that our municipalities, whether small or large, run on small businesses. That's the economic engine of the state. So it's fun to be able to work with a wide variety of small businesses, in a number of industries, and be able to try and support them if they do need some extra assistance on the financing side of things. I know that's one of the most important things in business is obviously having a good product, but as well having the capital behind it to make sure that you can grow effectively and, in a lot of cases, just get started. So it's fun to be able to work with those businesses, both on the business plan side of things, but also on the financial and sustainability side of things to make sure they're growing within reason and that they're able to, get the capital that they need and that the product that they have is going to support that.
Yeah. Cool. So, a lot there in that.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's talk a little about that. So, what type of businesses typically do you guys work with? Is it kind of any business, or do you kind of have a framework for what you're looking for?
So a lot of the businesses that we work with are small businesses. Mm-hmm. And so we're looking at businesses, maybe under $2 million in revenue. Sometimes they're a startup business, even though that's extremely difficult to fund. So a lot of the times they are in business for 1 year, 2 years. The biggest thing we're looking for as a nonprofit is enhancement of a tax base. So if that's a development project that somebody's doing, or job creation and job retention. So those are the two main factors when we're lending. So a lot of that is a small business looking to buy a piece of equipment that'll help them produce more. They're looking for some working capital in order to expand employment for their business or offer additional product lines. But we do see a lot in the, I would say, tourism, accommodations, restaurants. We see a lot of those. We'd love to see more in the manufacturing and technology side of things. Okay. But those are usually capital intensive up front, so our funding sources may not be the best use. But a lot of them are going to be those smaller businesses that, operate in a community. You may not see them, you may see them, but it's really interesting to see all the different wide array of businesses that, work here in New Hampshire, but have a worldwide presence.
Yeah. That's a pretty good question. So how many of those types of businesses do you see? Like, they're small in New Hampshire, but they have actual pretty big markets.
Yeah, we work with, right now I'm working with, a personal training group that's looking to expand into a second location. So they're obviously just, servicing those individuals that they're helping out, where we'll work with some manufacturers that are actually shipping overseas. So they need some additional capital in order to help them enter new markets. So those are the businesses that are really exciting because they provide a lot of job creation behind it. But a number are going to be the smaller ones that do serve primary client bases here in New Hampshire. Because a lot of the ones that are international are going to be much bigger and will probably be able to get, traditional commercial lending. So as part of CRDC, what we do is we offer gap financing. So a lot of the times a bank will require a certain equity injection from the business, 20%, 30%, but the business owner might not have that up front. So we're able to come in behind a bank and provide that equity injection for a business that'll allow them to buy a piece of equipment, real estate, working capital, leasehold improvements, whatever it might be that they need.
Okay. That's pretty cool, because it's funny you said small business and like 2 million under. I'm like, oh man, that's That's interesting.
Yeah,
definition
you
of
don't
small.
typically. I mean, a lot of them are going to be in the $200,000, $500,000 range. I mean, but it is we work a lot with the Small Business Administration, and their definition is I think 1,000 employees and something like $50 million in revenue. So we're obviously that's not our categorization of small business, but it shows you just how the different definitions will change. So generally we're looking at 20 employees and under, but a lot of them will have 1 or 2 employees.
Oh, wow. Huh. That's pretty cool. So, I don't know if you know much about other states, but how does New Hampshire look compared to, I guess, maybe not economies, but business growth and all that type of stuff? I don't know if you'd even be able to answer a question like that.
Well, I think New Hampshire. Obviously, we have some advantages. I used to work for the state of New Hampshire and worked on recruiting businesses and keeping them here. And so, I have all the respect in the world for small businesses because no matter where you are in the States or overseas, it's really difficult. It's a grind. They're very risk adverse, which they put a lot on the table. So I have a lot of respect for that. But I think New Hampshire has a lot of good qualities. Obviously, we have no sales or income tax, which is nice for individuals. Great place to live. We're always the healthiest state. Great education, place to raise a family. So from that aspect, I think it's a great place. A lot of other states will offer incentives, especially to start and relocate. But a lot of the times, those are geared towards larger ones. There was recently an effort for an Amazon facility to go in Londonderry. Which obviously is much different than any, what I would deem a small business, opportunity here. So a lot of them, it's, local, they grew up here, they're looking to start something. And then those are the ones we like to work with that are really dedicated to New Hampshire and they're going to stay here. Where some of those larger companies will just, leave at the drop of a dime if they get a better incentive somewhere else. So it's nice to work with those smaller businesses that are going to stay here. They're in it for the long haul and really love the state.
Yeah. So you kind of mentioned kind of what you're looking for in businesses. You said it a lot, under 2 million, like 20 employees or so. But like, because it's not really a startup that you're typically funding, like what type of businesses or what's some of the requirements for getting these loans?
Sure. So we're gonna piggyback a lot off what a commercial lender would want. So usually we like to see 3 years in business. Obviously, we'd like to see the business growing. If an individual comes to us, one of the most important things, if you're going to need financing or your business may not be doing, meeting projections that you're looking for, is get help immediately. And it's not always paying a consultant to help you out or hiring more people, because unfortunately we can't help a sinking ship. But if you come to us, a year or two before things might go bad, may not be financing you need up there, maybe some business advising. And there's great opportunities in New Hampshire for free consulting through the Small Business Development Center or SCORE, and especially SCORE, that will hook you up with somebody that's probably in your industry, has been successful, an entrepreneur as well, and can really support you and look at your business and strategize how you can grow effectively, and make sure that you're keeping up to date on, everything you need to do with your product. The economy is constantly changing, and you need to make sure that you're adapting with that. Obviously you have printing companies 10 years ago that are acting a lot different than now, or some of them are digital marketing firms and other things, because they have to keep up. So making sure you're keeping up with the trends. And a lot of that is going to be, in your business plan. Your business plan should be updated every single year. It's something that you should go to, that kind of, then, you take your business plan and then that will, you'll take that and make sure that you're, meeting your different goals, but who your competition is, what the market here is, and what kind of your capital needs are going forward. Yeah. So I think it's important to have those pieces in place. Have a business advisor, have a good accountant, have a good attorney. Those are all things that any small business, should have a good relationship, and obviously a commercial, a good relationship with a commercial lender. And that's a lot of the folks that we work with is the commercial lending side, because they'll bring us in and saying, hey, I have this client that needs another $50,000 to buy some equipment, or they're looking to buy their building, they've been renting, now they want to buy it. Is there some way that we might be you might be able to step in and help them out, that the traditional commercial lender is not able to provide because some of the restrictions on them, or it might be there might be not enough collateral to provide as much funding as they need. So it's nice for us to be able to come in and in a lot of cases be able to help fill that gap, especially if the business is growing, or it might close down if they don't receive this capital infusion.
Yeah, that's interesting. I almost lost my train of thought there for a second. That's funny. So you had mentioned you have commercial lenders who you typically work with.
Yes.
Is it generally them who's coming to you? Because the small business itself might not even know you exist. Is that kind of traditionally what it is? They go to a lender, then they come find you? Or people coming directly to you for services?
Yeah, probably 90% of, the clients that we work with are referrals from banks.
Okay.
And then generally, we're not going to be the only financer. If you need $100,000 for something, we're going to, try to, if you don't have a banking relationship, we'll try to connect you with some lenders. And then, we would like to be at about 50% or less. So a lot of the deals, when we're coming in, we're 10%, 20%, 30% of the overall financing that the owner will need for their business. And that's coming directly from the bankers. And then we have relationships with different partners. It might be people within the municipality that a business comes to them and wants to open, that will connect with them at first to help them build their business plan, build out their projections, their pro forma, and then we can, help connect them with local banks. And that happens a lot with a lot of the small businesses that may not be from the area, or it's their first time in a business and may not have all those connections, because I think small business owners have they wear a lot of different hats, but there's some hats they don't, need to wear or be an expert in everything.
Yeah.
But I know sometimes that's hard as a small business owner to accept. But you should really take, opportunities for people to help you, and you don't always have to pay for it, which is the nice thing here in New Hampshire. We're a small state, a giving state. There's a lot of groups out there and organizations that can provide those resources for a small business.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Because small businesses, they need a lot of help. And I get into this a lot with the businesses I talk to, where they love their business, but oh man, when it comes to accounting,
Yes.
and the bookkeeping and that stuff, they're just lost. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's a good point. Like, get some help there before it becomes an issue.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I mean, they may, we deal with a lot of restaurants or people that, might make cupcakes or pastries, or they do, some sort of food product, and they make the best thing possible, but they really don't know the business behind it. When you ask them, well, who are your competitors? Have you done a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, different things, so you can really understand the market for your business, and they don't know that, and that's okay. But before you open up that shop, you should really have that plan in place, and not just kind of go along. And you should have an attorney, an accountant, a business advisor, other people that are helping you along the way, which is what we stress up front. Especially if a business contacts us directly, we're connecting them with other resources to make sure that they can then go in front of a bank. Because if you're, going for financing, which generally every business needs, unless you have deep pocketbooks or, a rich uncle or something like that, you're going to need to go out and get financing, and they're going to expect you to know your business. And if you don't, they're going to shut the door on you, because they have plenty of other opportunities, and they only get paid when money goes out the door. So that sometimes we'll see the referral to help them do that back end work, so that they can then go and approach a bank on the financing side.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna quickly jump over to a commercial break here, and then we're gonna get into the tips side, because I think I've just been writing since you've been talking. We have a whole lot we can talk about on the back end of things. I think it will help out. So everyone, hold on for just a moment, and we'll be right back. So I'm excited to announce that my website is making fantastic progress. So I've been working with Zim Ventures on a new website for the show that does a whole lot more than my other website does, because it's not holding up to the demands I need as far as the show. So we just got out the framework, which looks amazing. So the show's pretty much built out. Well, the website's pretty much built out, and now we're going through the process of filling in the artwork and doing all this really, really cool stuff. So I'm excited to say that Rob is making this extremely easy. He's done it before. He's done it so many times that the process is just quick, easy, fast. I couldn't be happier. So head over to nhbusinessshow.com/ZimVentures to see if it's a solution that would work for you and your business. So, so this is the fun part. So I mentioned earlier, so beforehand, what are they, someone's getting ready to go to the bank. Mm-hmm. Like you said, they need to know their business, they need, business plan, all this stuff. But what else can they bring with them to kind of like help this process along? Because I sell cars on the side, when I'm done. And I know if the customer comes in with a bunch of stuff already, the process is just like smooth and fast, and it's not much of a headache.
Definitely.
Now, is there kind of some recommendations you make for helping things they should have prepped beforehand that they haven't done?
Are we on right now? Okay. Yeah, I mean, the more prepared, the better. But more importantly is, the character you are, and are you willing to, take advice? Are you willing to put in the work behind the scenes? Because a lot of these groups that will help you, they're going to give you the tips. They're going to give you a worksheet that says, okay, here's your budget. Plan it out. What are you going to do for marketing? What are your competitors doing? What's your competitive edge here? So the more information they know, not just about their business, but the other businesses in the area that are in their same arena, really shows, to somebody that's looking just at the financial side of things, a competence to be successful. So the more information they can have up front, in their business, and not just come and say, okay, here's my product, this is going to sell, provide me some money, which is sometimes the way that, that they come to us. And at that point, we have to step back and say, okay, well, here's X, Y, and Z. So, I mean, the first thing is obviously to have an idea and have a product, but that doesn't mean you have to physically have the product right now. It can be just something, in your mind. But now put that to paper and talk about, is there a viable market for it?
Yeah.
A lot of individuals that I've worked with, especially at where I previously worked up in Grafton County, it was hobbyists trying to turn their, product or their hobby into a business. And so they would come in and they may have made a little money on the side, but then when we really go through their, financials and what the cost of the product would be and how it would be to scale, they're not thinking about how much are you going to make at the end of the day. And I was going through it with somebody, and it came out to they were actually losing about $5, on a piece of product, and that didn't even take account for their for their time that they're putting into it. Yeah. And they should be paid, even though generally if you start a small business, I think most of them they don't take, pay for the first couple of years as they get things going and everything gets reinvested back into the business. Yeah. So it's important to, I think, talk with people who have been there, have done that, and utilize the resources, and don't take offense to it if, somebody connects you with somebody to talk to, because you can't know everything, in your business, especially once you're starting out.
Yeah. Because like I said, there's a lot of questions there people might not even ask. Because I had another guest on earlier today where one of my questions was, how are you correctly pricing your products?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and great question.
That's like, because most people have no idea. Mm-hmm. Like you have something, you don't really have a lot of comparisons out there, and you're like, oh, what do I charge someone for this thing? And like restaurants go under all the time because they misprice their products, mm-hmm. and they don't account for waste and all these other things. So it's like, you kind of need to know that type of stuff, and if they haven't thought of it, then someone like you should, or the company should be able to point that out to them.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And even on the marketing side of things, everybody thinks they need the fanciest, largest website. Well, there are some businesses that really don't need a website. They might be able to do with a Facebook page, which is free to set up. Yeah. Most will need a website to some extent, but you don't need to spend $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 as one to have this flashy thing. It's just an entry point, for a call. What's your call of action when they get to your website? Yeah. Is it to call you? Is it to actually order the product there? So, if you're going to order it online, then you need to have a website. But, these discussions, with people that have been there, so you're not, scratching your head all the time and at the end of the day wasting money and your time, which your time is valuable. So yeah. You need to think of it that everything you're doing is helping to grow that business and make sure you can get started on a good foot, and you don't set yourself up so when you open the doors you're either swamped with debt or you haven't invested in the correct marketing, so now nobody's coming through the door.
Yeah. So you actually said something earlier that I wanted to touch on again just real quick. Since you typically work with companies that have been established for a year or two, like, what type of paper trail of finances do you want to see going back?
So we'll usually ask for 3 years financial, and that'll be both the business and the individual. So a lot of the times, a business, if it's an LLC or sole proprietor, it'll be tied into their personal finances. So that's a lot of what we'll look for is, tax returns. We'll want the company's profit and loss statement, balance sheet, some other things. But it's nice to have the tax return because that's a legal document that you signed, and we know that money has come into the business and then have gone out in whatever you're spending it on. So those are things we like to see, and then obviously projections as well into the future. Where are you seeing that? Because a lot of times as you're taking on debt, obviously you're going to have additional payments in the future that you didn't have in the past. So can you support the debt service that you're going to have in the future? And will it be sustainable? And are you marking off, all the right checklists when you're looking at your budget? I was recently helping a startup restaurant, and they didn't have meals and rooms tax put into it. And so I was like, well, are in your cost of goods and in your food, are you including that 9%, which is restaurants don't don't make a lot, at net income at the end of the day. So are you taking the fact that 9% because that could end it or not? And they're like, well, no, I actually didn't think about that. I'm like, well, let's put that in a line item based on how much, food sales you think you're going to have.
Yeah.
And that, completely changed the entire budget and what they thought they might be able to, actually finance and what they needed. So just, having people review it and look at it, is an important aspect, because there's some things you may, not just think about, and, little things like vehicles or, insurance is going to be an important thing that you need. So all the, the small things that as you're getting started, you may not see or anticipate, increased costs as you do grow.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Because like I said, I sell cars. So I've had people come in and they're like, oh yeah, I run my own little business and I get paid in cash. I'm like, well, fantastic. I have no way of tracking your income.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You can't get a loan. So, and that's why I asked the time frame, because you should probably, again, thinking backwards, you'd be like, okay, I need a loan. So I need to make sure I have 2 or 3 years worth of the correct books. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't done that, maybe don't try to get the loan yet, because you're just wasting time and all that type of stuff. So it's good to prep that stuff beforehand.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's it's a little bit like when when you're working with a financial institution, whether it's a nonprofit like ours, Gap Financer, which are a number throughout the state, or you're working with a commercial lender. It's a little bit like Shark Tank in a lot of ways, where you watch that, where they're going to grill you with questions, and it's not because they want to put you through the ringer, but they need to make sure it's a good investment so they don't lose funds. And we're in the same boat here. We do say no to some small businesses, even though we love the idea, we'd love to give it, but it's just not a good time for that. And if we don't provide loans that perform well and that we're earning interest on and that we're getting principal back, that will inhibit our ability to then re-lend the funds that we have, because that's a lot of what we do, is take funding in and then re-lend it short term, so that we can assist as many businesses as possible.
Yeah, definitely. And so I know it's a little weird for LLCs and stuff, but are you looking at like personal credit scores or business credit scores? Like, how does that typically?
Yeah, well, thanks for bringing it up, because I didn't mention that. Is we'll pull your credit report. So because everyone will have to provide a personal financial statement, which says, here's where I am now. Here's how much cash or liquid assets that I have. Here's what I have in retirement. Not that that's going to be used as collateral or taken from you in any way. But what is it? What do you have for a mortgage on your house? What's your net? What is your how much money are you worth? What's your net worth, which is going to be on your personal financial statement that we'll calculate. And a lot of that is, credit score is important, your personal credit score, even on your business, because it shows a history. Are you paying your bills? Are you making smart financial decisions? And that's not always a case of we're going to, throw out the application, but generally around 650 or higher is what you like to see. And obviously the closer to, 850 being the best, closer to 800 you can be, is ideal, and will open up some eyes. But if you do see, a 550 or 600, you're really going to look into that and say, okay, was it medical history? Was it, a failed business? Or is it you're not paying your credit cards on time? Because then that's going to scare away some lenders, including us, to say, well, if you're not paying, your Visa card, what's going to make you pay us? And, and small business owners, if they have a house, they should expect that they're going to put a lien on it. And that if something happens with the business, which hopefully won't happen, but if it does, that, their house might be on the line. And so there's a lot of risk for them. But there also has to look back at, who's ever financing it, whether it's us or a bank. They need to make sure they're well collateralized in case something does happen, because no one's going to be in business if too many loans go bad. So even though it is a huge headache, there's tons of paperwork that go along with it, as I'm sure any small business would let you know. But I think at the end of the day, you're going to have a stronger business. I hear a lot of small business owners say, I don't get money from a bank until I don't need it, because then the business is doing well and all of that. And yeah, that's true, but they did help you out at some point. But it's all because you want to build a strong relationship, and you should have a good relationship with your banker. They should be there to help you answer some of these questions. And if they're not, then you may want to consider switching, because they're a partner in your business, and ones that don't realize that. And we're very lucky here in New Hampshire to have a lot of great community banks, small banks. Just drove by Primary Bank here in Bedford, so a lot of great banks with a lot of great commercial lenders that really get in, really will get into the nitty gritty, and really want your business to succeed and help you. There's a big distinction between Wall Street and Main Street, bankers. So bankers get a bad rap because everyone thinks of the Wall Street. These people aren't, pulling in. They're not, hedging on futures and these types of things. They're invested in the community. The community is not growing, and they're not supporting the community, then their bank's not going to do well. So it's nice to have that because they want you to succeed, but you should have a good relationship, with your banker and trust them, just like an accountant, a business advisor, and your attorney.
Yeah, cool. So I guess again, I'm going back to the credit thing real quick here.
Definitely.
At what point would you look at business credit? Because I've never been able to ask someone this because I've never been in this situation. Like helping someone build business credit. Do you have any input on that or?
So we can. You can. There is. Forgetting the term of it, a lot of times we're not pulling that. It's more based on the business's tax return because that will kind of give us a great financial picture, of how it's going. And then obviously we're going to know what liens they have on certain things, and if they're not paying their bills, that'll come through the due diligence period there. But you can look up a business score, and they'd have to sign up. I apologize for forgetting the acronym and what you need to be. But businesses do have a credit score, but a lot of businesses working on are Main Street, so we're going to know the owners. We're going to, there's going to be people in the community that know that, and that'll find out. And Google's an amazing thing when you just type in something, to find out, what the true scene is. Is this person a character? Because when you talk about credit, you always talk about the 5 C's. Don't test me on all 5 of them right now. But obviously, credit score is one, and then character. And for a small business lender like ourselves, character is probably the biggest thing. Are they a bull in a china shop when they come in, or do they take advice? Do they know their business? When you ask them a question, are they getting back to you quickly? And that can all be determinant of whether you're going to end up getting a loan at the end of the day. Because if you're going at teeth to have them get stuff, or some budgets look shady and they give you really fuzzy answers on something about employee wages, or how this isn't really adding up, it kind of makes you take a second guess. Okay, is this the best bet for us? But if you ask them for something and you get a spreadsheet full of numbers and everything makes sense, it makes you feel a lot more comfortable. So character is definitely huge, when you're talking about what's important in credit and what people are looking for.
All right, cool. Yeah, I was always curious. I've never been able to ask someone business credit, and I was just curious. So, business plans.
Yes.
This is the big one here, because you mentioned them earlier when you're talking about applying for a loan. You should have one. It should be updated fairly regularly. Mm-hmm. What does a good one kind of look like? What are you looking for in them? And for people who don't have them, where should they be going to check these things out?
You again, Google is a great thing. You can type in, business plans. My advice is don't pay somebody to create a business plan. Mm-hmm. A lot of, people will, pay somebody. There's a lot of great resources that we referenced earlier. SCORE, which is usually retired individuals that will provide free counseling based on industry. And these are individuals that were usually either entrepreneurs themselves or presidents of, large companies, small companies. Then you also have the Small Business Development Center, which generally has a business advisor in each region of the state, and they provide free service as well. So if you do want to look up, I say go to Google. There's a lot of great workshops that happen, free workshops that happen in the state of how to start a business, how to write a business plan, and plenty of organizations that can assist. It's not to say consultants and other aren't important. Sometimes they are necessary, but when you're building your initial business plan, especially if you're starting up, it's all about, what's the market, the biggest questions are, what's my product, what's my differentiating factors, and what's the market for my product? Because you may have a great, product, but, it may not work out here. You're obviously going to sell more, air conditioners over at the West Coast than you are here on the East Coast. So what's your market demand? Is this the best location for you and where you want to be? So kind of, looking through all these factors, and there's no set what should a business plan look like. There are certain things it should have. Obviously, a financial projection. It should have who your teams are. It should have a marketing plan behind that. You should have something on what's my competition in the area, and then again, what differentiates you from your competition to draw customers to you, and make sure that you're profitable and making money.
Yeah, because just from that last segment, I see so many things there that, especially with restaurants, they just get wrong all the time, and that's why they collapse so frequently.
Yes.
So it's just do the work.
Yeah.
Really get in there. And my favorite piece of advice is, can you sell it? Can you as the entrepreneur physically go out there and sell your product? Mm-hmm. If you can't, maybe skip the rest of it and just go back to work.
Yeah, or make sure you have the money to hire a really good salesperson. You know, that's
Yeah.
you know, that's the type of team. And you're gonna part of the business plan is going to be who's in your team, and you may be the sole entrepreneur, but who else are you talking to for advice, or what's going to help you out. And then hopefully that'll be a management team as well, whether it's a general manager or something. But what do they bring to the table to make sure that your business is going to be successful, which is extremely important. People with financial knowledge, marketing knowledge, sales knowledge, and then just general business operations. And then obviously, handling employees can be an issue. I know with restaurants, that's a big issue as well. So sometimes you have a great business, everything, and for unforeseen reasons, you may have the best product in the world. Just operationally, you have really bad customer service or something like that. So it's important to kind of look at the business like that, and make sure you get a lot of opinions from outside of what your business is once you are open.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Is there anything kind of wanted to cover that we haven't? I mean, we kind of covered a lot of stuff.
No, it's just, again, small business owners are our lifeblood. So if there's any opportunity, my name is Chris Wellington with the Capital Regional Development Council. Feel free to, we have our website, CRDC-NH.com. Feel free to look up that, call me or one of my colleagues, whether it's a financing need or whether you're just looking for some business plan or some business advising. We can either help you internally or we can make those connections to help you. So we just really want to see our small business succeed, which then helps our municipality succeed as well.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you all next week. If you want more referrals for your business, head over to nhbusinessshow.com/goldstar to check out Gold Star referral programs. It's awesome. We pass referrals to each other every week, and there's no better way to grow your business.